Welcome to IMA's CMA Candidate Webinar Series. The title of today's presentation is Test-Taking Tips and Strategies. I'm Margaret Lockery, and I'll be your host for today's CMA Candidate Webinar. It's a pleasure to have Jody Ryan as part of our program, and she will be serving as moderator for today's event. Jody is the Director of Member Engagement at IMA.
I want to introduce you to our featured presenters for today's program. Amy is an accounting instructor at Western Illinois University. I would like to introduce you to our second featured presenter for today's webinar, Lisa Bowden. And lastly, I'd like to introduce our guest speaker for today's program, Lacey Andrew. Before we begin today's session, I want to go through our learning objectives. For the first objective, you will be able to understand the testing format of the CMA exam, manage your time on the CMA exam, and explain how the essay responses are graded, and also know what to expect at the testing center. And now I'd like to introduce Lisa to start the program.
Thanks so much, Jody. Here's an overview of what we'll be covering today. I'll start with some background on why you should pursue the CMA designation, as well as some details about how to get the certification process started. I'll then cover the exam structure before discussing some helpful study tips and what you can expect when you arrive at the testing center on the day of your exam. Amy will then share some great tips which are related to both the multiple choice and essay portions of the exam. I'll explain the next steps to take to finalize the certification process once you've passed the two exam parts. And then finally, Lacey will share some tips and insights with everyone. I think you'll find it very helpful to hear from a new CMA, someone who's gone through the process very recently. The CMA is a very rigorous exam, and it's also very relevant. It tests the critical skills and knowledge required of accounting and financial professionals who are working in business. IMA has conducted salary surveys for the U.S., the Middle Eastern and Chinese markets, for the whole global hiring markets, and in all cases, professionals who hold the CMA designation are on average likely to earn quite a bit more in annual compensation than their non-certified peers. Before sitting for any exam, it's really important to understand all of the administrative details that you'll need to handle. The first step is to join IMA. For professional members, the annual membership fee is $230 per year, plus a $15 one-time processing fee. For students, the annual membership fee is just $39. The next step is to declare your CMA candidacy, and you do that by paying the CMA program entrance fee. For professional members, that fee is $250. For students, the fee is just $188. This is a one-time fee, and it's valid for 3 years. Finally, once you're ready to sit for an exam, you'll register for a specific exam part in a specific testing window and pay the exam part fee. For professional members, the exam fee is $415 per part. For student members, the exam fee is $311 per part, as they receive the automatic 25% student discount on the exam. And the exam is comprised of 2 parts. It tests your fluency in both accounting and finance. The exams are each 4 hours in length. They start with 100 multiple choice questions and conclude with 2 essay scenarios, which are like mini cases. The exam parts can be taken in any order. IMA has announced that effective January 1st of 2020, there will be some changes to the CMA exam content. Now, IMA conducts market research every 4 to 5 years to ensure that the exam is covering the appropriate content, and this is a best practice for professional certification exams. In 2020, there will be a few changes to the exam content, with the main change being the addition of a new section in Part 1 titled Technology and Analytics. So the exam format in 2020 will be compatible with the current format. And by that I mean that someone who passes Part 1 under the current format, like what you see on the screen right now, they just have to pass Part 2 in the 2020 format, and vice versa. So you can combine a Part 1 from this format with a Part 2 from the next, and so on. To learn more about the CMA exam, please visit the IMA website and go to the CMA exam section, and you can get all the information there. The content of this exam is extremely relevant to all accounting and financial professionals who are working in business. The skills and knowledge acquired by professionals who pursue the CMA are relevant and very much needed by organizations of all sizes and in all industries. We do recommend that you purchase study materials that have been created specifically to prepare candidates for the CMA exam. Once you have those materials, be sure to use them to their fullest potential. And by that I mean that you should not only be reading from the text, but also testing your ability to apply your skills and knowledge to the sample exam questions provided, both multiple choice and essay questions. You'll want to study the exam topics thoroughly. As you work through the sample of questions provided to you with your exam preparation materials, you may become very familiar with the questions, and you may even start to memorize the answers, right? You'll know when that question comes up, I already know what the answer is to it. I've seen it a couple times. Don't let that keep you from fully understanding each question, though. Be sure to take the time to completely understand all of the concepts so that if a question on the CMA exam were similar but slightly different from a practice test question, you'd know how to approach it and answer it correctly. And then finally, it's important to understand that preparing for the CMA exam takes time. Now, once you decide to pursue the CMA and pay your CMA program entrance fee, you will receive access to the CMA Exam Support Package, or ESP. Access to the exam support package is limited to 3 downloads, and you have access to it for 6 months. We do encourage you to save the file when you download it so that you have it available to you beyond the 6-month time period. The ESP includes samples of retired exam questions that can help you to gauge your strengths and weaknesses on the various topics that are tested on the CMA exam. Please note, though, that this is not a complete study program. It's really just intended to help you determine what your study needs may be, where your strengths and weaknesses are. There are several different CMA exam preparation options available to CMA candidates, and you can find them listed on the IMA website. Depending on your study preferences, you can prepare for the exam on your own using self-study materials, or you can sign up for a live instructor-led review course. Self-study programs have become quite sophisticated and very effective over the last several years with engaging lectures and a variety of study tools available to users. Live review courses are available in both the traditional classroom delivery approach as well as, in some cases, a live online webinar delivery approach. Another approach is to establish a study group either in person or virtual with other CMA candidates. Keep in mind, though, that no matter how you decide to prepare, you'll need to spend a lot of time studying on your own. Even if you have a group, you have to study on your own. A live course or study group can provide great support, but you'll still need to read and work through practice problems on your own in order to be fully prepared for exams. I want to share an important resource for CMA candidates. It's called the CMA Candidate Handbook, and it's available on the IMA website by going to the CMA Certification section. So at imanet.org, then go to the CMA certification, and then clicking on the Getting Started tab. From there, you scroll down the page to find the CMA Candidate Handbook. Many of the things that we'll be covering in this webinar can be found in the CMA Candidate Handbook, so it's a great resource for you, and I encourage you to download the handbook and use it as a reference. Now let's talk a bit about the exam testing experience. The CMA exam is a computer-based exam, and it's delivered at Prometric testing centers around the world. In order to schedule your exam date and time at Prometric, you'll first need to register with IMA to sit for a specific exam part, so Part 1 or Part 2, as well as a specific testing window, such as May and June 2019. Once you've paid your registration fee to IMA, you'll go to the Prometric website, locate a local testing center, then view the availability at the center during your testing window. The exams can be taken during 3 testing windows each year. Those testing windows are January and February, May and June, and September and October. Those are the only months during which the CMA exam can be taken.
How the exam is scored. Now, first of all, the weighting of the 2 exam parts is based on the relative amount of the time spent on each part. So you'll be spending about 3 of the 4 hours on the multiple choice questions. And as a result, 75% of your exam score will come from the multiple choice section. Likewise, 25% of your exam score will come from your performance on the essay section. When you complete the multiple choice section of the exam, the computer will be checking to see if you earned at least 50% on that first multiple choice section of the exam. If you did earn at least 50%, then you'll proceed to the essay portion of the exam. You won't learn what your score was on the multiple choice section. You'll just know that you earned 50% or higher. Now, if you haven't answered at least 50% of the multiple choice questions correctly, the test will end at that time for you. Exam results are available approximately 6 weeks after the end of the month in which you tested. This time is used to review and grade your responses to the essay questions. So for example, if you sit for the exam during the month of May, your results will be available around the middle of July. And if you sit during the month of June, your results will be available around the middle of August. Your exam results will be emailed to you, and they'll also be posted to the IMA dashboard under the transcript section of your profile. The CMA exam uses a scaled scoring approach, which is similar to what other well-known and highly respected exams use. The maximum score is 500, and a score of 360 points or higher is considered a passing score. If you pass the exam, that's great. If that was your first exam part, then you can start preparing for the next exam part. For candidates who have already completed their education and or work experience requirements, they can send in their transcript or work experience form anytime after they pay the entrance fee. If IMA has this information before a candidate passes their last exam part, this will speed up the certification process. Now, if you don't pass, don't be too down on yourself. The CMA is a very rigorous exam. You'll want to create a plan to retake the exam as soon as possible. You can even sit again during the very next testing window if you'd like. Just don't give up. Prometric does send a performance report to candidates who don't pass the exam. It should arrive about 2 weeks after your exam results are available. It's a very basic feedback report that will provide you with a comment of S for satisfactory, M for marginal, or U for unsatisfactory for each of the 5 sections of each exam part. Now, if you don't pass, I recommend that you do not wait for the performance report from Prometric in order to plan your studies. So it provides very basic feedback, and I think that you'll probably already know which subjects that you need to focus on. All right, so Lisa is our IMA expert, so I want her to walk you through the steps to becoming a CMA once you've passed the exam.
Yeah, so thanks, Amy. Now let's talk about what you need to do once you pass those exams. That's the great part, right? The fun part. First, if you haven't already done so, you'll want to request to have your college or university send an official transcript to IMA. Next, you'll need to complete and submit the experience verification form that's on the IMA website. This needs to be completed in order to validate that you've fulfilled your work experience requirement. Complete instructions on how to complete both the education and experience requirements are available on the IMA website. So just go to Taking the Exam under the CMA section of the exam, then click on Get Certified to see the steps to finalize the certification process. So once these things have been verified, you'll receive your CMA certificate number, and your certificate will be mailed to you within 2 to 3 weeks, and it's at that time that you can call yourself a CMA. All CMAs do have an annual CPE, or continuing professional education requirement, of 30 hours per year, of which at least 2 hours have to be in ethics training. Your CPE requirement will begin in the calendar year after you pass both exam parts. So if you pass both exam parts in 2019, you need to start reporting your CPE in 2020. I hope you've all found this session to be very helpful. Whether you're preparing to sit for an exam part in the upcoming testing window or, sometime in the next year, we wish you all the best of luck on the CMA exam.